The federal Liberals under attack from opposition parties and Jewish groups after a Ukrainian veteran who served in a Nazi military unit in World War II wasn't just invited to hear Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy speak in Parliament on Friday, but received a standing ovation from all sides of the House of Commons. To dive into this latest political fiasco, Mackenzie Gray joins us from Ottawa. Mackenzie, we appreciate this. So let's go back a moment. How did this happen, and what has been the reaction so far?
Yeah, what a shocking story. The House of Commons Speaker Anthony Rota was the one who invited Yaroslav Hunka, who was a former Ukrainian veteran who fought in a Nazi brigade back in World War II. And Mr. Rota not only invited him, but kind of gave him some praise. Here's what he had to say in his speech in the House of Commons with Mr. Zelenskyy, the Prime Minister, and all the other MPs in attendance.
We have here in the chamber today Ukrainian Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98.
Now, Mr. Rota's office says that he did not know the Nazi-linked past of Mr. Hunka when he was invited. He put out a statement saying, "No one, including my fellow parliamentarians and the Ukraine delegation, was aware of my intentions or of my remarks before I delivered them. I accept full responsibility for my actions." I asked Mr. Rota's office what accepting full responsibility means, if he's going to be resigning as Speaker. No word on that. The Prime Minister's office also said that he and his staff did not know that Mr. Hunka was going to be in attendance, nor did they know about his past associations with the Nazi Brigade back in World War II. A statement from his office saying no advance notice was provided to the Prime Minister's office nor the Ukraine delegation about the invitation or the recognition. The Speaker had his own allotment of guest seating, which were determined by the Speaker and his office alone. That is not unusual to have these. Speaker having his own gallery. I was in the gallery during the speech, and there were a number of individuals there, but obviously very embarrassing for the Speaker, the Prime Minister, and for Mr. Zelenskyy as well. We've heard from a number of Jewish groups, all outraged by the fact that Mr. Hunka was in the gallery and have cheered by many parliamentarians. Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, says that there's absolutely no way that the Prime Minister did not know about this, saying that protocol officials from either Global Affairs or the Privy Council office would have known about this. Jagmeet Singh, the governing partner for the Liberals, says he'll be bringing it up with the government, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more reaction about this when the House of Commons starts back up today at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, the news obviously shocking to so many people. You mentioned briefly about him, Yaroslav Hunka, but what more do we know about him?
Yeah, he's a 98-year-old man who lives in North Bay, which is the riding that Anthony Rota, the Speaker, represents. So that in part is why he was invited to come and speak here. And he has, I think, a checkered past is certainly one way to put it. In his remarks, Mr. Rota said that he fought against the Russians. Well, he was a part of the First Ukrainian Division, which is also known as the 14th Division of the Waffen-SS, which was a Nazi division. And how do we know that Mr. Hunka was a part of that? Well, he's posted about it extensively on the internet. He put a number of blog posts up in 2011 discussing his involvement in it. There's a key quote I want to read for you here. In July 1941, the German army occupied Barhanzi, which is a city in Ukraine where he's from. We greeted the German soldiers with joy, he said. He also posted a number of pictures of him in 1943 when he signed up to fight alongside this 14th Waffen-SS division, including pictures of him training in Munich in 1943. So there is clearly no doubt from his own words that he has associations with this Nazi division.
So, Mackenzie, as bad as this is, the timing for the Liberals obviously couldn't be worse. The party suffering in the polls, and not to mention, this is Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. So talk about the impact for the party, not just, as a whole, but also for Anthony Rota himself.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a good day to have someone who fought alongside the Nazis be invited to Parliament and give a standing ovation to them. But the Liberals are already in a very tricky situation down in the polls. You mentioned Yom Kippur. This is a very important time for Jewish Canadians and Jews across the world. And Mr. Rota is certainly in a lot of trouble. The job of the Speaker is to maintain decorum in the House of Commons, to not bring the House into disrepute. It's fairly clear that he has done that from his actions here, even if it was not intentional. I'll be interested to see what the opposition calls today, whether or not Mr. Rota should resign. We haven't seen that so far from them, really trying to pin the blame on Justin Trudeau. That's been Pierre Poilievre's tactic. I'm also interested to see if Liberal MPs will be calling for Mr. Rota's resignation. So certainly be interesting to watch the House later today. The other problem is for Mr. Zelenskyy in the situation that Canada, Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Rota has put Mr. Zelenskyy in. We've heard falsely from the Russians from basically the beginning of the war that the goal of the war from the Russians' perspective was to denazify Ukraine. That is not a real issue. That is false. But certainly this situation is not good. We've already seen the Russian embassy in Canada tweeting about how the fact that Mr. Zelenskyy gave a standing ovation to someone who fought alongside the Nazis. So a very difficult situation politically for the Liberals, but also putting Mr. Zelenskyy into a difficult situation as well.
Many layers of the story still to unfold. We appreciate the update, Mackenzie. That is Mackenzie Gray joining us from our Ottawa bureau. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.